Update 2. I told my fiancé my stepdaughter isn't mine. If you haven't watched the first part of this saga, click the link in the description. Now for the second update. I'm not sure if you've all forgotten me, but I'll start with some good news. We've finally figured out how to properly toast Pop-Tarts for my son. We had about 2 weeks of calm. During that time, I spoke to my stepdaughter a few times about everything. I reassured her that no matter what happens, she'll always be my girl. She told me she hoped her mom wouldn't come back, saying her mom was controlling. Then a few days ago, my ex-fiancé walked into my house carrying 2 grocery bags, acting as if nothing had happened. She asked me what I wanted for dinner. I told the kids to go to their rooms and confronted her. I told her that we're over. She asked why, and when I didn't respond, she said, "Couples fight," as if her actions were normal. Her behavior was unsettling. I told her she needed to leave or I'd call the police. She asked why I was doing this to her. I was at a loss for words, so I picked up my phone. At that point, she backed down saying, "Okay, let me get my daughter." I told her that if she wanted her daughter, she needed to call CPS and explain why she had disappeared for 2 weeks. She insisted she had only been gone for 1 night. She refused to leave without her daughter and started shouting her name. Her daughter came out of her room and reluctantly said she would go with her. I told her, "You have a place here for as long as you want." Her mother then said, "He'll kick you out just like he's kicking me out." I stood my ground, saying she could have her daughter back after speaking to CPS. When I started dialing the police, she ran out. Later, I talked to my stepdaughter. She said she was willing to leave because she didn't want to cause trouble for me. I reminded her that she's the child, I'm the adult, and it's my responsibility to look after her, not the other way around. I asked her where she wanted to stay for now, and she said she'd rather stay here. My ex-fiancé ended up calling CPS. They reached out to me, and there was supposed to be a meeting yesterday with her, but she didn't show up. Now for the comments. There is seriously something mentally wrong with her. Yup, seems to be. Having been raised by a mom with BPD who acted just like this, you have no idea how powerful it was when you reminded her she was the child, and it was your job to look after her. Sincerely, no matter what, I can promise you she felt safer in that moment, and hearing you say it out loud than she likely ever has with her mother. Oh yeah, she wants her daughter so badly with her that she missed a CPS meeting. Hope your stepdaughter can stay with you. Doesn't this reflect badly on her for further dealings? Like deeming her an unfit parent and taking custody of her daughter? OP is her fiancé. If custody is given, it would go to the next of kin, the stepdaughter's father. Unless the father feels his daughter is much safer and happier with OP than with him, then OP can fight for custody. I'm not sure about the legalities of custody matters. See a lawyer about getting custody of your stepdaughter. If you get the biological father on your side, you might have a better chance. Tell your stepdaughter not to take any phone calls from her mom. She should text only and screenshot everything. The ex may end up saying something to the daughter that you can use to get custody. Also, change the locks. Next story. Am I the a-hole for breaking down after my girlfriend suggested an open relationship? I, 34 male, am 5'3" and have always been self-conscious about my height. I'm aware that it holds me back in the dating market to some extent. I've worked hard my entire life to prove myself and now have a successful career, making more than enough to live comfortably. I've been dating my girlfriend, 26 female, for 2 years. She's stunning, charismatic, and confident. Everything I've always wanted in a partner but never thought I'd actually have. Early on, I asked her what she saw in me, and her response was vague but sweet. Something about how I'm kind and stable. It was enough for me to believe this was real. Recently, she suggested we try an open relationship. She said she wanted to explore freedom while staying committed emotionally. It hit me like a truck. I asked if she wasn't happy with me or if that wasn't enough. She laughed nervously and said it wasn't about me, just that she feels too young to lock herself down. I tried to hold it together, but I couldn't. I started crying, which I never do, especially in front of her. I told her that it felt like I was just a placeholder, that maybe she was using me for financial security while looking for someone better. She looked shocked and said I was overreacting and being dramatic, that it wasn't about replacing me, just adding more to our dynamic. At that point, I told her if she wanted to explore, she could do it, but not while in a relationship with me. She looked stunned and started to argue, but I told her I needed space and asked her to leave. She's been texting me saying I'm being unfair and making her feel bad for being honest about her needs. So am I the a-hole? I'm considering breaking up. This hurt me so much, genuinely. Now for the top comments before reading the mini update. Not the a-hole. A suggestion of an open relationship, especially after 2 years, is completely grounds for a breakup. Either she has someone in mind already, or she's wanting to window shop for more options in the future. I'm so sorry, Opie. That would absolutely break me as well. The fact that she started to argue and victimize herself is also very telling. She's trying to make you seem like the bad guy for holding her back. If she wants an open relationship so bad out of the blue after a 2-year relationship, she can find someone who wants an open relationship. I guess you're right, there's someone else, or she wants to search. This open relationship can't work, especially not in Opie's favor. Not the a-hole. She's basically asking your permission to cheat and not have to give up any perks of the relationship. Most of us would have felt exactly how you're feeling. Let her go. It's better to be single on your own than alone in a shell of a relationship. This is exactly what people are doing nowadays, using open relationships as covers for cheating. They only want to open it on their side though, and get upset when a person who didn't want to open the relationship ends up relenting and starts dating outside the relationship as well. The person who wanted the open relationship didn't specify they only wanted it on their side. My ex opened a relationship without bothering to tell me, at least if you believe her. She wasn't cheating, we were just supposed to live together, married, while doing whatever we wanted otherwise. She even suggested that when she was caught. To no one's surprise, she got super mad when I started dating around months after I kicked her out and started the divorce. She meant exactly what you're saying. An open relationship where she got to do whatever she wanted while I provided money, took care of the kids all night, cleaned the house, did the laundry after work, and lived like a monk. And that's what OP's now ex is suggesting too. She doesn't want to be locked down. She wants the stability. She wants the stability he provides, while looking around for someone else to latch onto for the next round. Update. I broke up with her over text. She was really mad and called me crying, but I was 100% sure, so I broke up with her regardless. Next story. Am I the a-hole for ruining Thanksgiving after my boyfriend announced my pregnancy and his mom fainted? So I, 20 female, went to my boyfriend's Jake, 22 male, family's Thanksgiving dinner last week. We'd been dating for a year and this was my first time meeting the whole squad, so I was already kind of nervous. Before we left, Jake joked about how his family was super traditional and said I should be ready for some old-fashioned vibes. I just laughed it off. Dinner starts and everything's fine, until Jake suddenly goes, "Hey everyone, we have big news." I'm sitting there like, what big news? Then he grins at me and says, "Tell them, babe." I'm panicking, so I just sit there confused, and his mom is already emotional, asking if we're engaged or something. Then Jake drops, "She's pregnant." Y'all, I am not pregnant. I immediately start denying it, but Jake's cracking up saying it's just a joke, and telling me to play along. His family isn't laughing. His mom legit faints. His dad starts yelling, and his grandma's praying under her breath. I'm mortified. I stand up and go, "Actually, the real joke is Jake thinking I'd stay with someone who'd pull this." And I walked out. Jake's been blowing up my phone, saying I embarrassed him and ruined Thanksgiving. His family's apparently mad at me for causing drama, but like, I didn't announce a fake pregnancy and traumatize his mom? Am I the a-hole for walking out and leaving him to deal with the mess? Not the a-hole. Your now probably ex-boyfriend thinks that putting you on the spot with no warning in front of his family is totally okay. Nope. OP, good job on that. Yeah, like he put her in an impossible position for his own amusement, that expected her to clean up the mess. He's lucky she didn't go off on him right then and there. Bro really thought the fake pregnancy announcement to his whole traditional family was going to be peak comedy. Not the a-hole. Let him deal with the mess he made. Finally, people who agree. Anyone who isn't a complete moron should agree with you. It's insane anyone would think this is reasonable behavior from him. Like, maybe if they're that type of family and you both planned a joke, it could land. But not including you in the joke makes you the joke, and that's really crappy of him. Next story. Am I the a-hole for breaking off my engagement with my fiancé because of his creepy comments toward my 14-year-old sister? I, 20 female, am in a tough situation, and I'm not sure if I'm overreacting, so I need some outside perspectives. I've been with my fiancé Charles, 35 male, for about 2 years, and everything seemed fine until recently. A few weeks ago, my 14-year-old sister, Amy, came to stay with us for a few days while our parents were out of town. During her stay, I started noticing some really unsettling things. At first, I thought I was imagining it, but Charles started making comments that made me feel incredibly uncomfortable. He would call her so hot and say things like, "You're going to turn heads when you're older and you've got such a body on you already." The worst part was when he said, "I'd be jealous if I were your boyfriend. Every guy will be looking at you soon." I tried to ignore it at first, but it kept happening and I began to feel sick to my stomach. Then one evening, I overheard him telling a friend on the phone, "Amy's got that look now. It's like she's starting to bloom." It was honestly one of the creepiest things I've ever heard. I felt like I was losing my mind, and I just knew I couldn't stay in that relationship anymore. I confronted him about his behavior and he immediately got defensive. He denied it and said I was being paranoid and that I should trust him. He insisted that he was just being nice and that I was overreacting. I didn't care. I packed my things, broke off the engagement, and moved back in with my parents. Now my friends and some family members are telling me I overreacted. They say I should have talked it out with him first, but I don't see how that would have changed anything. So, am I the a-hole for breaking up with my fiancé because of his creepy comments toward my little sister? Now for the top comments. Drop the man and the friends defending him. That is red flag and fire behavior. He was grooming your sister. He's got huge pedo vibes. I would not want him around your sister, any future friends' kids, or your own. The age gap is too much. Your sister is not much younger than you are. To us older people, him being with you is just as sick as picturing him with your sister. Get out. Good job. I'd also look him up to see if he's on an offender list. I'd argue that with the age difference, he was grooming OP too. Freaking disgusting. OP did the right thing throwing away the whole relationship. Why are you surprised when you dated him as a teenager? You probably got too old for this creep. My parents convinced me it was okay because their situation was similar. Dad is in his 60s and mom is 40s. You're 15 years younger than him. He's not with you because you're mature for your age. That's the whole point. You're younger and easier to control. Once you get older, he'll leave for someone younger. That's the kind of man he is. Leave now before it's too late and before he gets a chance to hurt your sister. Last story. Am I the a-hole for cutting off my family after they didn't believe me about my cousin? I, 25 female, cut contact with my family when I turned 18, and I've been estranged from them ever since, until recently. Growing up, I was part of what everyone else thought was a loving, close-knit family. We had regular family dinners, holidays, and vacations together. But beneath that picture-perfect facade, something terrible was happening. When I was 13, my older cousin, then 21, started sexually assaulting me. At first, it was subtle. He would brush against me accidentally or linger too close when no one was paying attention. I didn't know how to process it at the time and tried to convince myself I was imagining things. But over time, his behavior escalated. He began cornering me during family gatherings, groping me, and making vulgar comments about my body. The breaking point came when he trapped me in a room during a family party, put his hand under my shorts, and touched me there. I froze, too scared to scream. He leaned in and whispered, "No one's going to believe you," before walking out like nothing had happened. For years, I carried the weight of that moment alone. I avoided him as much as I could, but he always found ways to isolate me. I felt dirty and powerless. At 16, I couldn't take it anymore and finally told my mom. I remember sitting on the edge of her bed, sobbing as I explained everything. I thought she'd protect me, but instead, she said, "You must have misunderstood him. He'd never do something like that. He's family." When my dad found out, he told me I was being dramatic, and warned me not to spread lies that could ruin lives. Their reaction crushed me. Desperate, I confided in my aunt, his mom, hoping someone would believe me. Instead, she screamed at me, accused me of trying to destroy her son's reputation, and told the rest of the family that I was lying. After that, everything changed. My siblings avoided me and other relatives stopped inviting me to things. I became the black sheep, the troublemaker. Meanwhile, my cousin acted like nothing happened, smirking at me during family events or brushing past me just to make me uncomfortable. I started skipping gatherings altogether, but that only made me look difficult in everyone else's eyes. When I turned 18, I packed my things and left. I went no contact with everyone, determined to start over. Therapy helped me process the trauma and the betrayal, and over time, I built a new life for myself. I went to college, started a career, and met my fiancé who knows everything and has been my biggest support system. For years, I didn't hear from my family. I assumed they didn't care. But a few months ago, after I announced my engagement, my parents reached out. My mom left a long voicemail saying she missed me and wanted to heal the family. My dad sent an email saying they regretted how things turned out and wanted to be part of my wedding. At first, I ignored them, but they kept reaching out, so I finally responded. I told them I'd only consider reconciling if they acknowledged what happened and apologized for not protecting me. My mom started crying, saying she was sorry for how things went, but refused to outright admit she'd failed me. My dad said we did the best we could at a time, which felt more like an excuse than an apology. Then, other relatives started reaching out, saying I needed to let it go for the sake of the family. One even said, he's changed. Why hold on to the past? But to me, it's not just the past, it's years of betrayal, silence, and being dismissed that still haunts me. Am I being too harsh for refusing to reconcile unless they take full accountability? Or am I justified in keeping my distance from a family that chose their comfort over my safety? Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Block them all. They're not your family. True, what Opie experienced was sexual assault, and the impact of that trauma is huge. Your parents and aunt had a responsibility to protect you, and they failed. Not the a-hole. If I'm being honest, it sounds like you have let it go and are not holding on to the past. You're moving on it up. They made a choice to not believe and protect you. This is a very reasonable direct consequence of that choice. You even offered them a very fair boundary to be able to reconnect, acknowledging the past so they can move on and you can heal. If they can't even meet that one requirement, then they aren't ready to treat you with the respect you deserve. They want to go back to the dynamic that fits for them. I hope you're able to continue healing. You're doing great in my opinion. There's an audacity flare somewhere that would fit this perfectly. Similar to, sorry I messed you up running you over with my car, but I did the best I could considering I was drunk. Not the a-hole OP. Out the abuser enablers, then block them all. Have a wonderful life. You deserve every minute of it. Not the a-hole. These people are still blaming you. He's fine and been fine all these years. Changed? Why would he have changed? How can they tell? BS. They can all go F themselves.
Update: spouse is a groomsman, his ex a bridesmaid, but I'm not invited? Original post: hey all, need some advice on how I should proceed. My husband is a groomsman to his childhood friend's wedding. The bride is best friends with my husband's ex, though he dumped her months before even meeting me, and the bride has obviously asked said ex to be a bridesmaid. I've only met the bride and groom a couple times in passing, and I've never met the ex. But thanks to mutual friends, I do know the ex was regularly creeping me online up until quite recently. So with all that being said, yesterday we received the formal invitation and is addressed only to my husband. I'm not mentioned anywhere. There's nothing about A+1. My husband, bless his heart, assumed it was an oversight and texted the groom to see if I was actually invited. And the groom responded along the lines of, oh, I guess it would be really awkward for X, but if she really wants to come, I guess she can. I personally have no interest going to the time and expense of attending a wedding where I'm clearly not welcome. And my husband has said he will just back out of the wedding. But it's only about 3 months away. And as offended as I am not sure this justifies my husband potentially ending an almost 2-decade-long friendship with the groom. I'm genuinely not sure how to proceed. Please help y'all. Now for the top comments. So that's not only rude because you are his wife, but also because as a groomsman, really he should get to invite someone regardless of relationship. I don't blame you for not wanting to go, but I would have a conversation with your husband about options. Do you want to just not go and let him go? Do you want him to have a more frank conversation with the groom about how it's quite disrespectful of your relationship to cut you out and make you feel unwelcome? I get there are complex relationship issues here, but it's a pretty stupid move of the groom to not invite his groomsman's wife. Or was this a steamroll decision by the bride? Sorry you're dealing with this, but it sounds like you're approaching it as level-headedly as possible, which is all you can do. I am assuming it's a bridal steamroll. I've only met her a couple times, but she seemed like the loud/bossy type, whereas the groom is very quiet and timid. And I'm trying to be level-headed about it, but I feel myself losing my cool the more I think about it. I would understand them doing this if I were some local home-wrecking hussy, but I'm not. My husband broke up with the ex, then moved to a new state, my state, and that's when and where we met. There was no overlap or shady behavior. I understand that breakups suck, and I think it's good a bride was in her friend's court, but it's been over 6 years since the breakup. It's time to move on. With all that being said, I think my husband is going to call the groom later in the week once this isn't so fresh, and see if they can talk it out. I agree with the commenter above. You're his wife and he is a groomsman. Husbands and wives should be invited together. It's rather silly for them not to be, as you two will likely be together for the rest of your lives. I will say though, you are taking this well and going about this very level-headed. I think I'd be a little more heated should my husband be asked to join a wedding party with his ex and then I also am not included whatsoever. Strange circumstances that sound like they involve rather petty people. I think I'm only holding it together because I don't know the bride and groom well. I would be much more upset if they were a couple I knew and cared about. I'm highly offended and very unimpressed by this couple and the way they conduct themselves. But more than anything, I'm upset at them doing this to my husband. My husband has been an extremely loyal friend to the groom for going on 20 years. So I think this is really hurting my husband. And if you hurt my husband, I'm coming for you. You and your husband are a social unit. You are not a +1. I can't believe this couple wants your husband to celebrate their new marriage while completely disrespecting your marriage. Especially since he's a groomsman. Exactly. This is beyond rude. You're not a girlfriend or a +1. You're a missus. There's no inviting one without the other. This is a huge disrespect not only to you, but to your husband and your marriage. I would be speaking with my husband to reconsider being in the wedding at this point. Now for the first update. Hey all, a bunch of people asked me to follow up once my husband spoke with the groom. So I'm just creating a new post rather than try to respond to everyone individually. Recap? My husband was asked to be a groomsman in an old friend's wedding. I've only met the bride and groom a couple times. My husband's ex is a bridesmaid. I've never met the ex. I was not invited due to it making the ex uncomfortable. Anyway, my husband called the groom up last night and the convo went as well as it could under the circumstances. My husband explained to the groom that we are a team, a social unit, and used what a lot of you guys said about the bride and groom asking him to celebrate their relationship as they disrespected ours, etc. The groom said he never intended to hurt or offend us, and hadn't thought through the situation well enough and realized how stupid and ignorant it was. Apologized profusely and said of course I was invited and they would love to have me. Their original reasoning, as told to my husband then repeated to me, is that the ex always thought my husband would move back home and get back together with her. So even though they were broken up well before the two of us met, she didn't fully believe their breakup was permanent until we got engaged. And it kind of feels like he chose me over her and never got closure. And she didn't want to be around a girl she lost to. And so, because the bride and groom live in the same small town as the ex, and spent a lot of time with her, they thought it would be an easy way to keep the peace by just not having me come, and figured I wouldn't care to attend a wedding anyway since I barely know them. I believe the groom was genuinely clueless about the etiquette, and I believe his apology was sincere. I am not convinced the same is true of the bride, but I'm trying to give the benefit of the doubt. The solution we came to is this. We will both attend the church ceremony, him as a groomsman, me as a guest, so that he can stand up with his friend. Then we will both skip the reception to avoid any uncomfortable situations for anyone, and go have a romantic weekend to ourselves. The groom was disappointed my husband wouldn't be there for all the festivities, but was very understanding and apologetic, and is planning a trip out to see us after the honeymoon. As a petty woman myself, I approve of your plan. I'm happy to hear your husband stood up for you and your relationship to his friend, and that there was a somewhat happy ending. Haha, I'm glad someone understands the art of subtle pettiness. I just figure it's ideal for these types of run-ins to be planned. I once ran into one of my own exes right after I got out of the gym, and I'm not the kind of girl who goes to the gym in makeup and pink spandex. I looked a mess. So I'm glad I can at least look fabulous for this particular run-in. Already planning on a pale lavender silk A-line cocktail dress with accessories. It shows off my body but in a very sophisticated and classy way. So I will look amazing but won't give anyone a reason to gossip, lol. Yes! I was not surprised to hear that this couple/ex live in a small town, to be honest. I'm from a small town. Left when I was 18 though. And my husband's family is from a small town. And the drama is non-freaking stop. Even within their own family, which they somehow managed to spill into our wedding. But that's another story for another time, lol. I will never understand it, and it just makes the drama manufacturers look ridiculous to everyone else. Do you? Be fabulous, be gracious, and maybe even splurge a bit on a gift to the bride and groom for that extra kick. Good idea. I'm on the registry right now actually. I was thinking of doing 2 of the higher-end items they registered for, one from each of us. Leaning towards getting them the KitchenAid and a down comforter. I just want you to know that I went to bed last night, and as the total normal person that I am, thought to myself, I can't wait to find out if that one girl's husband's ex is about to be wildly disappointed. Ha ha ha, you're my spirit twin. That's awesome. And yeah, my husband is angry as he does not tolerate drama/immaturity like this. So if she's expecting some amazing reunion or storybook closure, she's gonna be really disappointed. He's just going to primarily ignore her. And if there's a situation where he can't tactfully do so, he's just going to act like he barely remembers her. Willing to bet that drives her insane. And I know she's probably hoping I seem better online than in real life, but she's going to be disappointed there too. I have a strong pageant background, so I know how to carry and present myself. Pageants also taught me how to dress my body type and do my hair/makeup to flatter me best. Also doesn't hurt that I am 5'10", size 2 with natural D cups. This is not to say that I think I'm so much better than her. My husband wouldn't have dated her in the first place if she were some evil troll. I just know how women are, and she's already revealed how insecure and petty she is. And I know how to work with that. So it's not that I'm so much better than her. I'm just making her think I am. Because I'm petty too, just more skilled at a petty execution than she is, lol. Now for the second update. Wow, totally forgot to update. My bad. It was really uneventful and drama-free, so no crazy stories. The groom called my husband less than 2 weeks before the wedding, more or less begging us to reconsider and come to the reception. We decided to just get over it, so hubby agreed to go to the reception and I stuck with my original plan to attend the ceremony only. Ceremony was nice and simple. Hubby escorted the groom's sister, not the ex. Yay! It looked like they overestimated attendance because there were a lot of empty seats. I would say a little less than a third empty. After the ceremony, I headed back to the hotel and relaxed in the hot tub and caught up on some reading. Hubby went with the bridal party to do photos, then went to the reception. He said the reception was pretty underwhelming. The food/toast/cake/first dance, etc. were all pretty rushed. And a good chunk of people left shortly after that. Hubby also left as soon as all the traditions were out of the way, so he doesn't know if it picked up at all. He didn't say anything to the ex aside from a polite greeting, and the ex didn't try to approach him, so no drama there. It was pretty much just a typical, kind of boring wedding experience, and I'm not sure why the bride and groom were so worried it would be an issue. Now for the final update. Hey y'all! Just wanted to share the over 1 year update to my story since there is actually an update to share. This is going to be pretty long. Situation recap. My other posts provide more context. It was a really bizarre situation. Over a year ago, my husband's friend asked him to be a groomsman, and my husband's ex, best friend of the bride, was a bridesmaid. I was not invited, and when my husband asked why, the groom informed him it was because my presence would make the bridesmaid/ex uncomfortable. My husband explained how offensive that was, and that he wasn't going to attend if they were going to disrespect our own marriage like that. The groom was genuinely apologetic, and we believe he just didn't realize how taboo it was. We were pretty confident it was all the bride and her bridesmaid, and the groom was just clueless and went along with it. But anyway, the groom backpedaled and said I should definitely come. And my husband and I ended up deciding that I would attend the ceremony then leave. And my husband would get the formalities out of the way. Pictures, cake cutting at the reception, toasts, etc. Then we would connect and have our own romantic evening. Wedding recap. Nothing crazy happened. The ceremony itself was low-key. The bride and groom did a receiving line at the end, so I took the opportunity to be kind. I congratulated them and expressed well wishes and told the bride she looked lovely and then moved right along. My husband went with the rest of the bridal party to have pictures taken and said it was uneventful. He and the ex didn't really speak. They had exchanged greetings prior to the ceremony, and it was all fine. He said the reception was a bit disorganized. By the time the bridal party got there, most everybody had already eaten their buffet dinner, so they went right into first dances and toasts and such, and the bridal party just ate as they were able. By the time the cake was cut and passed out, many people were leaving, so my husband just ate some cake, said his goodbyes, and headed back to me. The ex didn't approach him, and neither the bride nor groom said anything about it. Now for this week's developments. So here is the most recent interesting stuff. Shortly after the wedding, my husband's relationship with the groom became stilted. The groom would take days/weeks to respond to texts, and when he did, it was like a one-word answer type situation. Wouldn't even attempt to connect when we were in the area, etc. It was pretty crappy, but my husband took the, "oh well, I tried," his loss mentality. Fast forward to this week, like literally 3 days ago, groom calls my husband out of the blue, saying he is getting divorced. He didn't share every single detail, but apparently his soon-to-be ex-wife had been acting like a crazy person from the time they got engaged up to the wedding, and he just let it go thinking it was just some bridezilla crap that would go away after the wedding. But she actually got worse after the wedding, was super manipulative and controlling to the point that she was dictating who he could and could not spend time with. So he filed for divorce, and actually seems happy and at peace with his decision. He and my husband have been talking a lot the last couple of days, and it seems like they're going to be able to be close friends again. From what the groom, ex-groom now I guess, has told us, it seems like the wedding drama was primarily the bride and the ex-girlfriend was just egging it on, rather than the other way around, which is what I had originally thought. But regardless, I am happy this poor guy's getting out of a relationship that was toxic at best, abusive at worst. And I am very happy that my husband has his friend back. The end. Oh, I remember reading your original post, so I totally appreciate the update. Glad there wasn't any drama at the wedding, and glad the ex-groom is doing what is best for him. Emotional abuse is no joke. No kidding. I feel really bad for the guy, but glad you reached back out. My husband will move heaven and earth to make sure his friend is okay. You handled the whole thing a lot better than I would have. I was really angry at your husband's friend reading through, so I am glad you shared about his situation. I have been in an emotionally abusive/manipulative relationship before, and it's really messed with the way I thought and interacted with others. Glad he is getting out of that and fixing relationships. Same. It casts a whole new light on the situation now that we know what was going on behind the scenes. But at least he was able to get out of that situation. Lots of people get trapped their whole lives. It's a good reminder to stay in touch to the extent you can when friends get into relationships with controlling, difficult people. Even minimal contacts can provide a lifeline and critical support when that person finally gets the courage to leave.